If you could bottle energy or motivation, you'd do well. Last week, Todd drove us to Natchez for our conference, where a little award was given to me that is always filled with grace, from the Southern Christian Children's Services group. They had a guy there who was the speaker. We mentioned him in passing last week. His name is Charles Lee Johnson. He's an African Methodist Episcopal pastor, and he has founded a number of child service agencies that now spread all over the world, literally all over the world. And he is so full of it, so full of energy, it's amazing. He actually preached for an hour and 20 minutes, and Todd reached over and said, I don't like long preachers, but I don't want him to stop. It was kind of an interesting thing. So when I got up, I had the chance to be able to receive the award. What I said was, thanks to all these people for all the work they've done. And I said, and I have had an unspeakable privilege. And that privilege is to be able to stand right next to the original Energizer bunny, you know. And he said, oh, man, that's good, you know. He should have said, oh, man, that's true, because it was. Anyway, he told a story that many of you may know, but I want to share it with you. It's the story of a man who had a mule that he got sick and tired of and didn't like anymore. And he decided that he would get rid of this mule. And so he dug this huge hole in the ground and one day led the mule out there and led the mule so that he actually fell into the hole. The mule looked at the man and smiled broadly. And the man shook his head and walked away. The next week he came back with a pile of trash. And he threw this trash on that mule in that hole. And the mule let the trash fall all over it and did like this. And the mule smiled broadly at the man. And so every Friday he came back and threw more and more trash on the mule. And the mule would shake his head and shake his body and lift his legs. And so the man said, well, I'm going to bring more trash. This thing doesn't seem to learn. And so more and more. And finally, 9 weeks came and he brought a truckload and put the trash in, all of it. The mule shook it off and smiled broadly. I want you to hold on to the story there for just a moment, okay? I might remember to tell the rest of it in a little bit. And I might not, so you can help, all right? Anybody had any trash thrown on them lately? Anybody here that could honestly say that they have lived without any trash coming along the way and involving them in their lives, in their times? Because the truth is, it's going to happen. Sometimes it comes out of our family life. Most families are perfect like yours, but all the rest of us are working. And one of the things that this guy said, I thought it was real neat, he said, I'm going to say something and I dare you to turn to 2 other people and say it. And I'm not asking you to turn to anybody and say it, but I did want to tell you what it was. I'm dysfunctional. I am a dysfunctional person, you know. And before everybody, I'm a dysfunctional person. I'm dysfunctional, you know. And I couldn't help but think about it the minute I heard about that. You've heard it before, but every time I hear it, I like it better. What is a dysfunctional family? Answer, a family with more than one person. And every time I hear that, I like it better. The truth is that you can be dysfunctional if you're the only person in the family. And all of us need to do that. But not all of our family systems are just difficult. They bring us unbelievable joy, unbelievable healing, unbelievable wealth, unbelievable cause for thanksgiving. But the fact is, there is trash in family life, and we need to look at it. Sometimes it comes from abuse, from the abuse of language, from physical abuse. God help those who have to hurt other people, because that's really sick. And at the very same time, there's the kind of an abuse that comes from neglect. There's a neglect in the family where somebody trying to do the good thing is never present and never there to bring love. Our family has brought us some beautiful gifts, but one of the most lovely gifts, and one of the ones that we don't forget quickly, is one time when the kids were all talking together, they said, when we have our families, we would like to raise our families the way you guys raised us. Now that is pure grace. And it certainly is the kind of grace that allowed me to look in the mirror and say, God, I wish I'd been there more. I wish I hadn't been gone so many times. Sometimes family situations, human relationships are the most difficult and the most challenging, and we feel like there's a lot of trash there. But remember, trash can be hauled up and it can be cleaned up. You know, what about with friends? I run into people all the time that have friends that sometimes they say the right good thing and sometimes they say stuff that really upsets you. Sometimes you expect your friends to be there. Let me tell you, you get in bad trouble and find out who your friends are real quickly. Or get in a situation where if somebody found out about it, they might be a little bit embarrassed, and you'll find how quickly those false friends fall away and how amazingly those true friends begin to appear. But I run into people all the time that deal with friendship. It's good, it's bad, it's indifferent. That's the way it is. But they want to have friends, but they don't want to be friendly. And if you want to have a friend, you got to be a friend. And if you want to have a friend, you have to take a little time. You have to reach out. You have to make telephone calls. Every now and then you have to ask for forgiveness. Sometimes people mistreat one another without recognizing it, and then when the pain is discovered, you have to be big enough as a human being to say to somebody else, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm really sorry about that. And sometimes you just have to be a friend, and you have to take the rap. Because being a Christian friend is a unique kind of a friend. It's filled with grace because you had to have grace. It's filled with forgiveness because you had to have forgiveness. It's filled with that unique kind of love that God gives to us through the person of Jesus that we wouldn't have had if we didn't run into it. So, you can also find trash in your faith communities. Boy, oh boy, wouldn't it be nice if the churches stopped fighting with one another? Wouldn't it be a lovely thing if we stopped trying to put one another down and tried to lift up the wonder of God? Wouldn't it be nice if we tried to lift up the uniqueness of Jesus? We were talking in our Sunday school class just a few minutes ago. There's a lot of things that Jesus said, but there's a lot of things that Jesus didn't say, and a lot of things that Jesus didn't talk about that very good and well Jesus would want us to deal with, and would want us to deal with it in the way he dealt with the world, that is to say, with God's divine, compassionate love. He actually said in one place, you're going to do greater things than I've ever done. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? We say not us, but the first time Billy Graham ever preached a revival, he preached to 50,000 people. Jesus never preached to 50,000 people. He didn't have a microphone, Jesus. We have a microphone here this morning. The whole point is that we can only do as we extend what he began. But because Jesus is alive and well with us in spirit, we can still do the kind of thing that says, it's not just what would Jesus do. That's the cop-out. The reality is, what would Jesus have me do? And what would Jesus have me do in this situation? And so in faith communities, you can have lots of problems. You can have people that misunderstand each other. You can have people that hurt each other. You can have people that sometimes feel that they can't walk with you anymore, and that's a very difficult thing, and it's never been easy for us. It's never been easy for me when somebody feels that they're not able to stay with us anymore. We actually have a dismissal service, you all have seen it, where people come forward to dismiss people, and they can stand up and say whatever it is that they feel. But that's not easy, because there are no perfect groups of people. There are just people. And we have an ideal against which we sharpen all of our behavior, and we have to try to do that. But we always want to be there, to be open for whoever is, and whoever needs a place, and whoever has a place among us, and whoever leaves the place among us, and whoever wants to come back again. Isn't that the story of the prodigal us that we talked about last week? We thought it was just the prodigal son, but the bottom line is it's every single one of us who finally come to ourselves and recognize the reality that the world is filled with all kinds of stuff, and that even the church has a lot of trash in it, but we can try as best we can to move from what we know to be the ideal to what we know to be the actual. And maybe the most powerful discipleship in the world is closing the gap between the actual and the ideal with the help of the living God. And that's the one other thing that we need to say. We can overcome all of this trash experience in our lives by the power of God in the Spirit of Christ. The one who comforted us, that amazing comfort that comes from the person of Jesus, is the one that calls us to be a source of comfort and a source of healing and a source of help to others. My grandmother remembers Jesus coming to her as she was near her death. She died the next time she went to Charity Hospital, in the hall of Charity Hospital, for lack of a blood transfusion. But she said that time before, when she was right at the edge of death, here came Jesus to her, and she said, I said to her, Granny, Momsy is what we call it. I said, what did he look like? She said, I can't tell you. And she said, I can tell you what he felt like. I said, what did he feel like? She said, comfort, warmth, light. Interesting, huh? You and I can bring comfort because we have been comforted by the one who brings comfort and warmth and light. The 10th week, the man went back with a larger load of trash than ever for the mule. And he decided that he was going to really get him this time. And when he pulled the truck up, he had an amazing experience. The mule was gone. There was no mule. Because the trash had filled to the level that the mule simply walked out of the hole and into the light of the new morning. Talk about stomping the trash down. Talk about trash compactors, right? Are you ready to walk out of the trash? Or should we just stay in the hole and live our lives there and never shake off the trash? I say to you, in the name of the living God, shake off the trash. Let the level rise to the point that the level of your life moves to the point that you can go away from the trash and walk into the light of a brand new day. I only know 2 other stories about mules, and you'll get them quick. One is about, this is the King James Version, Balaam's ass, and I'm not saying any more about that than that. The other one is about, you don't want me to say anything more about that, do you? The other one is about the guy who had a mule that just didn't like to work. And one day they had this huge load to move. And the guy said, Nellie, come on, get up. Let's move this load. Come on, Nellie, come on. Come on, Nellie, come on. That's it, Nellie, that's good. He said, okay, bully, now you pull. And one of the bystanders said, sir, yes? Said, there's only one mule there. And he said, it's a boy mule, so that must be Bully. He said, yeah, but Bully is blind. He won't ever work until he thinks somebody else is helping. This is what you call a slow but continuous response. I got a big load of trash, and I sure would like to know somebody else is helping to pull. And I bet, I believe, I really believe, it might be you. Amen.